Good morning, YouTube. My name is Amy's Bro. This video we're going to be talking about storytelling. And I'm going to give my final thoughts on the Duet Project for UtaPri Duet Season 4 because yesterday, well now 2 days ago, was the final episode for the Duet Project, which involved UtaPri and Otoya Itoki. Okay? If this was professional wrestling, what they did with the story makes no effing sense. It doesn't. I'm gonna tell you why. Listen to me carefully. I'm gonna use a professional wrestling term here, and I need you to understand it, and I need you to understand why I used it. If you watch Season 2, Heavens was the antagonist. Now, in professional wrestling, we use a term called the heel. Okay? They were the bad guys. They were the villains. They got their comeuppance at the end of Season 2. We knew that. We knew that was going to happen because it only made logical sense, especially given two stipulations. One, the winner got Nanami as their composer. Number two, the losing group had to disband. Well, even though Stardust won, Heavens didn't have to because of a condition that was allowed to be used, and thus Stardust was also allowed to get it waived off. Okay. So the heels want, the bad guys want to get their revenge. So they show up to try and wreck everything at Triple S when it's Stardust, Cortenite, and Heavens makes their appearance. Heavens gets DQ'd because they weren't properly entered. So it's down to Stardust, Cortenite. Cortenite wins, but they rescind the win because they wanted it to be allowed to beat all three of the groups. Okay, no issue with that. So, now we come up to the Duet Project. Okay? The Duet Project was a joint project that was supposed to be between Shining Sayatom of Sayatom Agency, or Shining Agency, and Raging Atori of Raging Agency. Now, there was two things that were essentially supposed to be done with this. One is Stardust would grow through the project, but potentially Heavens could start to be liked a little bit better and liked a little more by the ardent Stardust Guard. That is something that was lost in everything. That was actually one of the main goals, but the way the writing was done, it's a little wonky. It's a little, as a term I've heard, cattywampus. Now think about this, okay? Here's your story, effectively, because if you think about it, if you were to think of each episode as a chapter, there's 7 chapters to the Duet Project. Some might say because this past episode kind of ended on a cliffhanger, but we'll say 7 for the sake of discussion because there were 7 duets officially. So, what happens? Well, it doesn't exactly go smoothly. There were challenges that were put forth, and you could argue that maybe 2 of them didn't end the way they should have, or didn't have a outcome that was favorable towards Heavens. The CO Yamato episode, Justice Impulse, and you could also argue excuse me, what was it? Gentle Empathy, which was Nagi and Natsuki. Now you can also argue this week's, but I'm going to tell you why that's not really the fault of the character, it's the fault of the writing. Ready? Okay. In every episode, we had to find a part of Heaven's personality. So each Heavens member had to showcase something to us. Eiji Otori, the brother of Eshi, he's a genius, but he's a very gentle, very warm, very loving personality. He's not a cold, intense persona. Do you know what I'm saying? And he projected that in his episode. Now, apparently he did something that caused Tokia to flip a little bit, and it caused a bit of drama that really shouldn't have been there. But it was, and it was a rather interesting situation. Something else that was interesting to consider, and we'll talk about this as we get further down the line. When you get to the final 2 episodes, pay attention. It is when the Heavens members and Starish members actually are standing side by side at the beginning of the episodes, or at certain parts in the episodes, if you really think about it. Now, you could say the first episode was an indication, but they're more or less sitting across the table from each other. They're not actually sitting next to each other. You get what I'm saying? So, we learned about his warm, gentle, kind personality. Genius also. We learn in Justice Impulse about the rather rough and rugged personality of Yamato, which was pretty much there since, what was it? Let me think for a second. The season 3 finale. Okay? So you with me so far? Cool. Now, I need you to keep going and think about all the other episodes that happened. Because if you look through, and we go through, say, Visible Elf, if we go through Lovely Eyes, if we go through Gentle Empathy, if we go through Longing Oneness, if we go through this one, each one of the Heaven members exemplified or showed off a part of their persona. But here's what got interesting. For the most part, towards the end of every episode, no matter what drama, maybe one exception, there came this belief that Heavens was really changing. Heavens was actually becoming a fan favorite group. Okay, yeah, if you look at one poll, what was it? 8%? But think about this for me. The fans were slowly starting to accept them. And with 6 days being announced, and by the way, day 1's on my birthday, you actually don't want to jeopardize that, right? So then, we take a look at today's episode, or excuse me, Saturday's episode. Saturday morning here, Sunday morning in Japan. We take a look at Saturday's episode. What did they do? They jeopardized all the work they did to start to build up Heavens to become a likable group again. To become a likable group, period, rather. You see, Buckley wanted you to like them. And they still do, I think. But for whatever reason, and this is at least on Tumblr, there were people that weren't willing to really look at the personalities of the Heavens characters. Be it Iji, be it Yamano, be it Shion. They made closet jokes about Shion. Be it Vaughn, Nagi. Kira, I think everybody pretty much knows his. But we didn't really get in-depth discussion. We didn't get in-depth debates until today. Or until Saturday. We will actually even went into Sunday. I'll probably go on today. It wasn't Heavens that risked, it wasn't Ecchi that risked everything. It was Broccoli. It was A1. They took the literal most severe gamble they could. And now what they've done is they've really caused a split, it's a big ass chasm in the UtaPri family, because you're going to find people that absolutely that hated Ichi from the start, and because of what they saw Saturday, they still hate them. They still hate him, and there's no way for it to come back. None. You just screwed it. You just screwed it with him, and you probably screwed it with all 6 members. But there's also the ones that are willing to say, okay, yeah, he did this. We acknowledge that. But he had a really interesting reason for doing it. There was a motive behind it. May not have been the greatest motive, may not have been the best excuse, but there's a reason he did what he did. You see what I'm saying? So now, here's what happens. And you had to think about this, Broccoli. You had to think about this, A1. You took a gamble on arguably the most serious storyline possible, and you potentially just jeopardized Heavens being booed out of the Prince Dome on May 27th. Think about that for me. Because here's what happened, kids. Broccoli and A1 knew that it wasn't that the seniors weren't doing great. They weren't like blowing the roof off, with top 5s and top 3s all over the place. The highest one, believe it or not, was Justice Impulse at number 4 so far. So Broccoli, rather than saying, okay, or A1, rather than saying, okay, they're not doing well now, but maybe if we give this a season, we can mold them into a group that can be likable. Here's what they did. They took, arguably, one of the most despised characters that isn't physically in the unit, but manages one of the units, Raging Atori. One of the most despicable human beings on God's great earth. He comes in and he basically brainwashes his son all over again. All the happiness and all the joy that was in him for the project, what happened? He starts to become a human being that people don't like. Why would you risk that so close to the finish line? Now, people are going to say this. Well, Josh, there is the possibility that there's more to this story next week. You're taking a chance that they're actually going to continue this story into the next week. Because remember this, the next 3 episodes actually supposed to be for the group project. The first one is supposed to be Starish, I think. The second one would be Quartet Night, and the third one would be Heavens. Unless you allow Ichi to properly fix what happened at the end of this week's episode, you've completely fucked them, not just now, but for the future, if you try to make a game for them, if you try to put out any more merchandise. Now, you may get lucky because you announced their fiber towels for Heavens. You may get lucky that the sting of this week's episode doesn't affect the pre-orders for that. But let's assume it does. Imagine the gamble that you took doing what you did. And now imagine this. To do the Heavens song, Haruka has to go, and she has to go deal with Heavens, probably in their place. Look at what you've done this week. Do you think in, 2 to 3 weeks, do you think that the fans are going to be so quick to forget what happened this week? Unless there's some grand plan you've got that we don't know for next week that involves Ichi and Atoya, you seriously risked everything on a gamble that did not pay off. What you should have done is left well the fuck enough alone. Because when Ichi says that the Starish members and the Heavens members were changing, look what you did. You created a scenario that did not need to be there. Okay, yes, they're rivals. I get that. But look at the story you created up till this episode. They wanted to sing together again. They wanted to work together because look at what happened in the Visible Elf episode. They were standing united. But you don't care about that because the only group you gave a fuck about through the whole series of episodes, through all the writing, was Starish. That was it. The only group that you need to get over, you felt, was Starish. Why? What does that accomplish? We already know about them. But you did it. You risked everything. You put this gamble out there, and now, because of the way the reaction is, which, trust me, I've been on Tumblr, it didn't look so good for you guys. You created something now that you did not need to do. You made a situation extremely personal and extremely volatile. Because I will tell you that there is a huge ass divide on Tumblr. Now, maybe you don't care about the Tumblr fandom. Maybe you more care about the Twitter fandom. Which, if that's the case, fine. Because from what I understand, they're a bit closer to being favorable with Ecchi then. But you see, here's the problem. Some of those Tumblr users are on Twitter too. You created the scenario that you have to now write your way out of. So what are you going to do? Are you going to somehow, by the grace of God, by the time December 24th comes, are you going to create a scenario where Starish snaps Heaven out of the mind control? Are you going to create the storyline where Heaven's defects to Shining? Because I'll tell you, from the looks of the way the episode was going and the looks of the way that meeting went between Raging and his son, that's what's going to happen. But the other thing is, you leave a lot of questions about Ichi's past. Why is he so mentally tormented? So now, you have to make a decision. You have to make a season with them to explain that, pretty much. And by the way, when I say make a season with them, what I mean is, you have to give me a concrete season that is strictly giving me their backstory. Forget stars, forget Quartet Night, for one season. You have to give me them. Because what you did now is you wrote yourself into that corner, and now you have to write your way out of it. And I got news for you. I've been writing for, what? Since 4th grade. I've never had this problem. I do not pity you, I do not envy you, I do not feel sorry for you. What you did is something that you shouldn't have done. Because now you've got members of the fan base at each other's throats. Why? Because you couldn't leave well enough alone, and you couldn't let Echi be happy. You let his father torment him again. And I say again because God knows he's probably done it once before. So when are the Heavens fans allowed to be happy? When are you just going to leave them the fuck alone and let them be happy? And not have to worry about stars and just, do their thing with Nanami? When? Think about this. Because what you're doing is creating a very dangerous situation. And I do not know if you know the way to get out of it. Let me rephrase that. I know you don't. Because you wouldn't have worked your way into this situation if you did. This hurts me because guess what? What you don't know, you dumb jackasses, is for 18 months I had to deal with a bunch of bullshit. What you don't know is that people like me have to now sit here and every week defend them, defend their actions if they did anything wrong, to try and get the Starish Guard off our backs. Why did you do it? Why did you create the scenario? Why did you do what you did this week? And people will say, well, wait it out for 4 weeks. It'll play itself out. How? We know Stars is going to win. That's the story that's going to be set. But what's going to happen to Heavens? And worse yet, if they now end up somehow in Shining's camp, are the Stars fans going to accept them? You fucked everything up. Everything. For a gamble. I hope you're happy with yourselves. Because my God, I wouldn't have been this fucking stupid. Because you've caused me a lot more stress than you know. You've caused me a lot more anxiety than you know. Every week I've had to wonder, are the Starish fans going to shut the fuck up and actually try to admit when the Heavens kids do good? They never do. They wait and they wait and they wait. Now what? Think about this. Think about what you've done. Because you hurt a lot of people now. You caused a fan war. I hope you're happy with what you've accomplished. Because friends, look, am I still going to support you? Yes, because I love UtaPri. But let me explain something to you. You need to correct this, and you need to correct it quick. There's 5 days to next week's episode. Figure out what you're going to do and fix this! That is all.